Alright, a lot of you guys are negative assholes, which is okay because I am also a negative asshole. Now, we can be terrible people together by talking about what we hate. People love talking about what they hate, whether it be people, music, movies. Well, I love talking about movies I hate, because there's a lot of movies I hate. Now, throughout all of my lists, I've talked about the movies I've loved the most. Very rarely have I talked about movies I don't like, just in the ranking videos. That's why I decided to do a top 10 worst horror movies of all time, so I can finally be that negative asshole I've always wanted to be. Alright, fellas, let's start off by getting the criteria out of the way. So, first of all, this has to be a movie that was hyped up to be good. Now, if the movie, nobody knows what it is and it just ended up being bad, then who cares? But this is a movie that got a decent box office draw, decent ratings, decent viewership, and some people like it, then I will just destroy it. Another big factor is also going to be potential. If this movie had the potential to be amazing and is just underwhelming, then yes, I'm going to put it on the list. Because while it, once again, may not be an objectively bad movie, because it had so much potential to be a great movie or even a perfect movie, I'm going to be more harsh on it, especially if these movies had higher budgets than some of the more low-quality movies that you may think of when thinking of what your top 10 worst horror movies of all time might be. Alright, now that we got all that crap out of the way, we can finally get into the list, kicking off at number 10. Alright, coming in at number 10, we have the Belko Experiment. Now, I understand a lot of people love this movie, and for decent reason, I guess. I mean, it's an awesome concept, don't get me wrong, but just like I stated in my criteria, the reason it's bad is because it had so much potential to be so much and was just underwhelming as hell. I mean, the emotion wasn't really there. I didn't ever feel like I was there, and I never really felt tense or scared. And it wasn't that enjoyable of a movie. I mean, it had so much potential with being in an office, and it could have gone so many different ways, and it just didn't execute well in any of those ways, which is why I think it's one of the worst horror movies of all time. And no hate to the acting, because I actually like a lot of these actors, but the script just didn't have me invested in any of the actors.
Sorry, but that sounds to me like you're saying you want to kill innocent people.
No, I am not saying that at all. I'm saying that we need to discuss all our options.
Well, we understand, but we are not going to entertain the option of killing people.
What do you got, a mouse in your pocket there, Melt?
Plus, I'm not going to get lectured by a pervert.
Don't you call me pervert.
Sounds like something a pervert would say.
And I'll be damned if I'm gonna stand here and be lectured by a pervert.
Coming in at number 9 is a choice that I feel like a lot more people are going to agree with me on. Now, before we jump in, I just want to show you this. Now, I know a lot of you guys, probably when you were younger, got texts like these from your friends, and while on the outside we all pretended like it was nothing, it kind of creeped you out a little bit on the inside. And this kind of reminds me of Unfriended, even though it's pretty different, as Unfriended is about cyberbullying. I still think that this is kind of the immaturity and lowbrow segment that Unfriended goes for, rather than actually going for a legitimate fear. And you know what? I'm actually not going to lie to you guys. When I first saw this movie at the beginning, I was kind of getting excited because I liked the whole idea how it was all shot on the computer and it was a call between her and her friends. But then as it got towards the fake, unrealistic, frankly, stupid idea that there's this haunted demon that committed suicide because of cyberbullying and now is coming back for revenge, I just thought that was kind of bullcrap. I liked the message that they were trying to convey, but it just didn't really faze me at all like it could have. I guess the main reason I put this movie on here is it tries to be something it's not. It tries to be scary. It tries to, kind of set a new meta, and it just completely fails at it. It's kind of pathetic, I'm not gonna lie.
Hello, can you hear us? Wait, what'd they say?
10:35.
Which one? 10:55 is suicide. Did they really just say 10:55? Sal? Oh my god.
Alright, coming in at number 8, let's have a little discussion. What concept is the most overused and saturated concept in all of film and cinematography as a whole? That's right, Groundhog Day. No, Groundhog Day is not the 8th worst horror movie of all time, but that concept is used again in the movie Happy Death Day, which is the 8th worst horror movie of all time. Don't get me wrong, as a standalone horror film with the acting and talent and production, it's actually not that bad. But when you take such an unoriginal concept as Groundhog Day and then combine it with basically bad slasher movie, it's not going to end up being good at all. And the worst part, that's just the beginning of it. I mean, the twist is super predictable, and don't even get me started on that stupid looking baby. Is that supposed to be scary? Get that out of here. Disrespectful. It's an embarrassment to horror films as a whole. I don't know what the hell they thought that they were doing when they released that in theaters at all. The only reason that this movie isn't in the top 5 is because of the acting from the main character Tree. All in all, this movie's kind of an embarrassment to cinematography, and I don't think anybody should watch it. Whoa, she woke up again on the same day? Never seen that one happen before. Well, on to number 7. Now, a lot of you guys are going to notice that with a lot of these movies, they try to be way scarier than they are, and they just try to be scary and come up with stupid concepts that they think are going to be scary, and it ends up just being a dumpster fire. Now, you guys have seen this with Unfriended, The Boy, and now you're going to see this with a lot more movies on this list. But starting off with The Boy, my biggest grievance with it, obviously, is that it tries to be scarier than it is. Ever since the concept was perfected by Chucky, where there's a creepy doll, it has been absolutely disrespected in horror, with many movies like The Boy and Annabelle, as you'll see later in this list, have just insulted Chucky's name. I don't know how many times I have to say it, but a horror movie with no plot and just being scary isn't a good horror movie. This is the point of the list where it starts to become physically taxing on me because I have to rethink watching these movies, and I had to rewatch these movies, and now I'm starting to go a little bit insane. Alright, we can make it through this. Coming in at number 6, we have Terrifier. Now, if you're in it for nothing but gore and cheap scares, then you are going to love this movie. This movie is honestly a terrible movie. No plot whatsoever. No good acting except for from Art the Clown. You're not really getting much out of it. The long time isn't too long. It's shot basically in 3 separate rooms. The twist isn't good at all. The only thing that's good about this movie is the gore. So if you want to watch a sick clown mutilate people, then look no further. Now, if you're a sophisticated human being who would rather watch something with plot and substance, then I'd urge you to veer away from this movie. But I know you sick f***s out there want to see that. So, you know what? I'm going to leave the link in the description.
Can I get a picture with you?
Dawn, come on.
Shut up. Ooh. Sorry. Thanks.
I know people make fun of people in horror movies for making stupid decisions, but that has to be one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. No human in their right mind would set foot near that thing. Alright, coming in at number 5, I alluded to it earlier, it's Annabelle. Now, I've talked before about how this trope with the scary, spooky dolls has kind of been ruined by modern day horror movies, but I think that this was the beginning of the end for that trope. I mean, a terrifying concept being basically ruined by these Annabelle movies. First of all, as a lot of you guys know, I love the Conjuring franchise, and I think the first couple Conjuring movies were amazing, but then as you see the sequels come out, it kind of ruins what was made from the beginning of the Conjuring movies, and it's really sad to watch because these movies are terrible. Now, I have nothing against the Conjuring movies as a whole, but the cheap jump scares, the cheap scare tactics, and minimal plot kind of ruins them for me. And Annabelle is no exception, as it premieres with cheap jump scares, cheap scare tactics, stupid doll and just being a terrible movie. My mental health is deteriorating watching these terrible movies. These oh God. The Nun, the 4th worst horror movie of all time, is The Nun, and I want none to do with it. Alright, I'm sorry about that. I'm just going a little bit mad, so I gotta keep myself entertained because here's another terrible Conjuring sequel that kind of ruined horror for a lot of people and almost ruined horror for me. Another scummy made movie with cheap jump scares and no plot. Really not appreciating these movies.
Not even God can save.
That's right, not even God can save that god-awful movie. Well, do you know what else God can't save? This god-awful movie. Coming in number 3, we have The Human Centipede, which might be one of the most disgusting movies of all time, and not in the good way. Now, you know your movie's trash when the only reason people were remotely scared of it is just because of the surprise factor. That this movie's just trying to be as gory and disgusting as possible to scare people, and it's not working. The element of surprise does not make for a good plot. Just because you can go out there and try to make the most disgusting movie does not mean that you're making a good movie. The only people who should be more embarrassed than the people who made this movie are the people who went out, bought the tickets, and supported this movie. This is a disgrace, and the fact that any sequels were ever created is terrible, and it should be erased from the film world as a whole because it has no business doing anything anywhere near. I'm not even going to show a clip because this movie does not deserve that exposure. Coming in authoritative at number 2, we have The Bye-Bye Man. Don't you think your movie's going to be garbage if it's called The Bye-Bye Man? Who came up with that? At least some of these other movies have mediocre titles. The Bye-Bye Man? That makes me want to not set 20 feet within the radius of anywhere that movie is showing. You want to talk about movies that are complete embarrassments to the genre? Look no further than this Slenderman copycat. Is it sad that I'm already starting to think that if they had created the Pee Pee Poo Poo Man, that would have been a better movie than the Bye Bye Man? Because I'm really starting to go down that path. Yet another disgraceful movie that I refuse to show any clip from because it's that bad. My brain cells and the number on this list are both at number 1. So now we are coming to the worst horror movie of all time, in my opinion. And yep, that movie's going to be Slenderman. Just because this is maybe the only positive thing about the movie, I'm going to say it. The cover looks pretty cool. But now, here we go. First of all, how are you about to be lower on a list than your copycat? Second of all, how are you really going to take one of the scariest things from the internet, one of the highest potential for being an amazing movie, and absolutely ruin all of your chances of doing anything? What were you thinking when you made this movie? Why? Why did you take such a beautiful concept and absolutely annihilate it with your terrible ambitions? Who let this happen? Get out and never make another movie again. Normally, you'd think that I'd say, don't watch this no matter what. But I almost want you guys to watch this to just see how pathetic it is, how terrible it is. What were they aiming for whatsoever? There's no good acting. Slenderman isn't scary. It's not true to the creepypasta. It's not good. It's not funny. It's not entertaining. There's nothing good about it. There is nothing good about it. How can you make a movie that has so much potential and not one thing is good about it? How? I seriously think that if this country were to ever bring torture into anything, the torture would only need to be watching this disgrace of a film. Alright, fellas, that's going to be my list and about 10 years off of my life. If you guys would like to see any more negative stuff or just any more videos in general, please don't hesitate to let me know. You can always reach out to me on Instagram or Twitter in the top left. Let me know what you guys think about this list. If you guys would change anything. If you guys would add anything. Let me know if you guys have seen any of these movies, including any of the top 3. And tell me what your opinions on them are. Yeah, thank you guys. Have a great week. Stay cool, fellas.